On the wedding night, the daughter-in-law forced her mother-in-law to drink a bowl of potion. Then she took off her mother-in-law's clothes and threw her onto the bed. Afterward, she removed her own veil and draped it over her mother-in-law. Finally, she put on her mother-in-law's clothes and left without looking back. Before leaving, she opened the door, allowing several beggars to enter and share the room with her mother-in-law, because she wanted her mother-in-law to experience the humiliation she had suffered in her past life. In her previous life, her husband had a congenital condition that made him impotent, unable to consummate their marriage. On the wedding day, her mother-in-law drugged her unconscious, and then brought in several beggars to force her to conceive. Unexpectedly, after the child was born, her mother-in-law took the placenta for herself. Because she was a descendant of the Medicine King Valley, the placenta of her child could cure her husband's impotence. As expected, after her husband was cured, the first thing he did was prepare to marry his younger sister, and he burned her and the child alive together. She never imagined that she would be reborn on the very day she was to marry the scumbag again. At this moment, her mother-in-law once again brought her a bowl of bird's nest soup. She knew all too well that drinking it would make her lose her senses and be completely at their mercy. Since her mother-in-law was so desperate to have descendants, why not let her conceive a child with a beggar instead? After swapping their identities, she went along with the plan and let the beggars in from outside, until she saw her mother-in-law reap the consequences of her actions. Only then did she leave satisfied. But she noticed that one beggar hadn't gone inside. The woman asked the beggar why he didn't go in to defile the bride, but the beggar said he wasn't the type to take advantage of others. Seeing that the beggar was injured, the woman took him to the medical clinic left by her mother. But unexpectedly, the beggar had also been drugged with an aphrodisiac. Just as the beggar was removing his clothes, the woman noticed a birthmark on his body. It was identical to the one on the child she had given birth to in her past life. It turned out that in her previous life, the child she carried was his. But now, given a second chance at life, she couldn't allow herself to be with the beggar again, so she took out an antidote to help him detoxify. Little did she know that her act of kindness would bring her immense blessings in return, because the beggar was actually the crown prince in disguise. Meanwhile, the scumbag husband and his scheming younger sister were waiting to see her downfall, but instead, they witnessed something they should never have seen. The once arrogant old matron was now humiliated and surrounded by beggars. The scumbag husband swore he wouldn't let her off. The next day, he confronted the woman, publicly accusing her of running away from their marriage and spending the night shamelessly with a beggar. He then tried to drag her home to punish her, but the woman refused to back down, claiming that it was his mother who had been defiled by the beggars. These words enraged the scumbag husband, who raised his hand to strike her,